When you expand your internal capacity, you'll naturally get different external results. The higher we go in leadership, the more we tend to focus on externals. Like there's so many externals to pay attention to, but when the focus is there, the internal, it just wastes away.
That's Transformational Executive Coach April Diaz. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. The world needs more transformed leaders. Leaders who are doing the personal development work, who are building strong foundations for themselves to be in their courage, resilience, and guiding others to those places as well. There is such a breakdown in leadership at all levels, and you especially see it in corporations because people are not prepared to go from individual contributor to managing people and leading a team. That's why I'm so happy to share with you today April Diaz. She's an executive coach who focuses on transformational leadership at the levels of self and group, and she's producing big results for her clients, from Olympians to professional athletes to corporate professionals. She's another guest with whom I share so many values and approaches in the coaching world. And I hope you find actions you can take today to uplevel your leadership to create anything you want in life and business. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies Podcast.
Thank you, Cara, for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you today. I've heard such incredible things about you. Let's tell everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
Yeah, my name is April Diaz, and I think we're practically neighbors, Cara. I live in Orange County as well, and I'm an executive coach and a leadership developer, and all for women in every single space.
Well, then I have some fun things coming up this month.
Let's do it.
Hang out at.
Yes, please.
Your website and your media kit were super powerful and informative, and there's so much variety in who is a coach and a consultant and executive coaching and leadership coaching. Yeah. And I hate some of these words because
Agree.
They don't, for people who are really doing transformational work, these terms have been so diluted.
I agree.
So I want to give you a chance to really talk about the approach you take and the transformation that you give to your clients.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I'm actually super skeptical of the industry that I'm a part of because it feels like anyone and everyone these days can be like, I'm a coach or I consult. And I'm like, show me your receipts. Like, how is it that you do what you do? And where did you get trained? And one of the things that I always tell prospective clients is like, you would never go see a therapist that hasn't done a full degree with lots of observational hours and all of the work, right? Like they have done the work to be able to show that they can serve you well, when you sit on their couch and unpack your whole story. And I'm like, you need to do the same kind of due diligence when you hire a coach or a consultant or whatever, right? It's just, what are their receipts there? So, I'm an executive coach because I have been an executive for a whole lot of years prior to getting into this world. And I love working specifically with female leaders that are in this space because for so many years, I was the only one or for sure, like a super minority. For a lot of years, young, white, and in the executive space, I was a mom, surrounded by a whole bunch of men whose wives were at home taking care of their kids. And I have always been such a believer and a fan that when there's more women at the table, everyone is better. We do better work. Our organizations are served better. And so I wanted to really invest more. So I ended up getting certified and trained and all of that as a coach. I have been coached off and on for the last 20 years. My first experience of coaching professionally was in 2005, and it literally changed the trajectory of my life. So I actually look back on that moment in that year that I was working with my coach and realize that like planted a seed in me for something that I never could have imagined that I would be doing professionally. And the work that I had with Dr. Jack Grapple shifted that trajectory, created some imagination that I didn't actually harvest for like another 10, 12 years. But it's really fun work because it isn't about me. It's about the client. It isn't about the fact that I was an executive or that I have all of these, degrees or certifications or anything. It's really not about that at the end of the day. I have what it takes to help you in that developmental science of transformation, but it's really about the individual and the person that I'm working with.
What are examples of where people are at when they come to you
Mm.
and how they get moved in that process?
Mm. Okay, so one piece I just realized I didn't answer in that first part that you asked me is like, how do I view transformation, or like, what does that look like? And for me, it's all about holistic leadership, because I know that like personally and professionally, those two worlds are combined. Like we hopped on the call and you and I just shared some personal things that are happening that impact us professionally, like even in this moment, right? It's like those two things are not separated. They're not compartmentalized. You cannot just remove them from one another. They inform deeply. And when they are integrated, they actually can be even more powerful. So that's the first part of the holistic nature to me. But then the second is that we're whole people. And so physically, emotionally, mentally, relationally, spiritually, and in our renewal, if all of those things are not being paid attention to in our life or in our leadership, there's some problems that will emerge. And those things like deeply impact and affect one another. So that's the approach that I have taken, in large part because of major like errors and faux pas that I've had in my own life, but also because when I have noticed, when I pay attention to those things, like it's catalytic, there's exponential impact, there's just really powerful things. So the folks that tend to find and want to work with me, I think there's a couple of different categories. One is they're facing a transition, whether it's self-imposed or it's others imposed, and they want to do it well. A lot of times we don't change or experience transformation because we desire to. It's like, oh, we better do something, or like shit's gonna hit the fan. We're gonna have a major problem. So like now is the time in a transition to make that turn in a really good way. But then I'm really finding, probably since COVID, that there's a lot of women specifically, but men as well, that are in leadership that are going like, this just level isn't working. It's not serving me well. There is a measure of suffering, of discontent, of status quo, of it is what it is that I'm no longer willing to tolerate. And so because of that, like discontent and that, there's got to be more than that. And I really believe that there is, if there's that like feeling, there absolutely is more. And it can be done with ease and lightness. And in my experience, leaders just are carrying a lot. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of demands, expectations, responsibilities. And so doing more feels impossible, but the desire for more feels just like, oh, like such an emotional response. So I am really committed to helping leaders experience more without doing more and getting it with ease and lightness.
I am now very clear why Sarah wanted us to be friends.
Our friend connected us.
Yeah, because it's like we share so many values in how we're approaching. Like I'm working with usually business owners or CEOs and their leadership team, but it's not about, they are secondary to the business often. And when people say like, well, how, like some people come to me for life coaching and they're like, well, how do you do that? You're a business coach. I'm like, it's the same thing.
It's the same. Because we're whole people.
Yes. Like we're able to double your business quickly because we fix you. And then once you're fixed and clear, like the business stuff is like
easy peasy.
It's math. It's 1 + 1 = 2. It's not where we put the complicated parts in the wrong places.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't think people realize that not only do successful people have handfuls of coaches in every area of their lives, but they also do so much work on themselves on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because the more we can know about ourselves, the more we can create structures around us that really leave room for everything we want to happen.
100%.
If you could scream a message from the rooftops, what would you want to be screaming?
Lead yourself holistically first. It begins and ends here. I also say, kind of as a dovetail all the time, when you expand your internal capacity, you'll naturally get different external results. And I think the higher we go in leadership, the more we tend to focus on externals. It's the KPIs and the goals and the metrics and the strategic plan and the team management and the policies and the procedure. Like there's so many externals to pay attention to. But when the focus is there, the internal it just wastes away. And the demands externally are just shriveling and like just squeezing out what is happening internally. And so I think that like there's a real opportunity, even culturally and in our society these days, to switch the narrative and to switch the approach in leadership from not power over or not externally driven, but power with and internally driven. And that's a really big shift. Corporate is not into that, but I do think there are leaders who are like awakening and going, we are clear that that other approach does not work. That's why we're having affairs and we're, hugging the wrong people at Coldplay concerts and spending money in weird places on the internet. Like they're blowing up our lives because the internal stuff is not able to carry whatever is happening externally. So there's a real opportunity right now to change the future of leadership. I'm deeply committed to that. I'm going to die on that hill because I think that it is healthier. And I actually think that women will play a huge part in making that course correction and designing a different kind of future because we have seen those old ways just are no longer working. They never were working.
Well, I think women always have a 360 approach to things because we're never not allowed to. Like, we have to think about the food and the shelter and the community and the happiness and the doctors. Like we have
the vacations.
We hold space for all of the things all the time. And so it's so easy to see how dominoes fall, how systems don't work. And like it shows up so obviously for women of like, this doesn't work, but neither do these other 5,000 things right now. And this is also why I think women are such good problem solvers often because you're able to see the whole system at once, go micro, macro usually. I also think that there is such a step into ownership that we can all have by looking at our, like believing first and foremost that we are leaders. How much of your work do you have to like remind people who they are to start?
Every time. 100% of the time. I just had a conversation or received a video from a client. She's not old, she's current, but she's been a client for a while. And when she first came to me, everything externally was appearing fabulous. But there were a lot of internal conversations that were not matching her external realities. One of them was she was running a $500,000 business and she didn't think that she had built it. And she didn't think that. And I was like, you are literally on the top 1% of women-owned businesses in the country. Top 1%. And she's like, I really haven't done anything. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, what are you even? So there was mindset work there. There was like old stories from her childhood and from her upbringing. She's a woman of color. And so there was a lot of like white supremacy and patriarchy things that were happening there. She's an immigrant. So there's like that. There were so many different stories that she needed to rewrite the narrative for. And I didn't even know this, but she just told me like she's never made more money in her business than she has in the last year. And the focus of our work together hasn't even really been on that. There's been some secondary and tertiary things, but again, it begins from within and she is leading herself differently, holistically. And it's now showing up in her P&L in a completely different way. So yeah, I think we all do. And that's myself included. I have a coach, as we've talked about, I have mentors, I have just a battery of people that are on my speed dial. And I know that like when things are shifting for me internally, it's just like a domino effect and the rivers start rushing.
Well, and I'm sure, as you know this as well, for my world, if things are not working, I'm like, oh, okay. What am I not doing that I know to do? What is that of integrity? Like, where am I being small? Where have I shifted my perspective back into scarcity mindset or whatever it's so easy. Like when people talk to me about their business or their own personal development, they want it to be linear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it is like this expanding spiral, which
Hmm.
means
Hmm.
we are going to run into that line
Yeah.
that cuts through that spiral at every level that has to do with, you know, if we don't like the word burden or whatever that money story is, like
Hmm.
whether you are making 10K a month in your business or you're making 100K a month in your business,
Hmm.
the money that whatever that thing is, that groove, that neurological
Hmm.
groove that's a part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
you, it'll get smaller, but it's going to show up in different ways. Like we're
Hmm.
going to, because you have to re-examine it and deal with it at a new level of you.
Yes. Yes.
And if
Uh-huh.
you were scared, if you were like, oh my gosh, I can't make 10K, I'm not worth 10K, then you get to 100K, you're like, oh, I thought I dealt with this, but now this extra
Uh-huh.
zero has me freaking out all over
Yep.
again.
Yep. Yep. Second verse same as the first, but it sounds a little bit different.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
and we're so mean to ourselves when we have to come back to something that we thought we handled. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish that people just gave ourselves like more space to say,
Yeah.
like, so what if we have to come back to that thing? Like,
Hmm.
people wouldn't be going to therapy for decades
Hmm.
if you could deal with, that mom issue or whatever that thing is once.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're living in the moment and we're going to get reacted by things, even if we
Hmm.
get our Jedi skills where we can deal with it in
Hmm.
like 1 minute or 1 hour versus 1 year. Like, we
Hmm.
reduce the time that we're triggered
Hmm.
or in the impact of things, but it doesn't mean that we lose our humanity.
Yeah. Brene Brown says, ask the question of her guest on her podcast, what is one lesson that the universe keeps having to teach you over and over again? And every time I hear that, I'm like, because it's, I think really for me, it is lead yourself holistically first. And part of that is like your pain can become this platform for supernatural power. It's like the thing that you have sucked the most at, that you've struggled the most through, that you've worked the hardest on, ends up being able to become the greatest point of service to someone else and the way that you can make the biggest impact. And so, I deeply believe your whole story matters. And the more we can pay attention to that story, the more power and impact and influence it can have on others and their own story. So yeah, I love that. And oh, the other thing you said, Kara, that I just wanted to clap on is you talking about like the slice through the circles of learning. Another visual that I have often is like the ceiling that you're at right now is the floor to the next level. And so a lot of times folks come to me too because they actually feel like they're at their ceiling. And so by some intents and purposes, they know that they're killing it, but they also know that there's more potential to be experienced and lived into. And so there's the breakthrough into the new level, but then like you kind of feel like shit when you break through that next level because now you're at the bottom and it feels like you're freaked out because it just feels like you don't know anything anymore and you don't know where to go and you don't know how to live into this new level. And so how do you begin at this kind of new beginner's level and live into whatever that next space is? And that's really powerful. Like that beginner's mindset, that growth mindset, that like curiosity and courage that it takes to live into that place instead of falling back into the level that was before out of, comfort or security or whatever your thing is. Yeah, that was another piece that I just heard that I wanted to like exclamate.
No, and I'll talk about like the Alice in Wonderland effect. Like, you're too big for the house.
Mm,
And it's so
yeah,
uncomfortable when you're in that breakthrough space.
yeah,
And like it should be. Like if
yeah,
if
hmm,
if you if your head was truly busting through a roof, it would hurt.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know so many clients right now. Like I really get amazed by the universal themes that show up.
yeah.
And right now there are so many who are having they're truly in a level up phase because things are not working with like teams. They're
Ooh,
they're realizing that they need to redo their org chart to go to the next level. They
hmm,
might need to redo who is or isn't on the team.
hmm,
They're having, they're experiencing moments where the people who have been their right hands
yeah,
suddenly can't go with them to the next level.
yeah, yeah.
How do you transfer like the internal work you
Hmm.
do to who you start attracting and allowing into your space to build the support team around you?
Mm. That's a loaded question. My, I also have ADHD, and so like, I'm hearing you, and like my mind is thinking to all sorts of things. So I don't know if I'm going to answer your question perfectly here. So feel free to push it. But the first thought that I have is when you realize that the team is no longer working the way that it needs to, your right hand needs to go. People aren't ready to go to the next level with you. You need to reorganize the folks, etc. The first thing that I heard in there is grief. That's painful. And a mentor told me a long time ago, life is often lived in the tension of joy and of loss, celebration and pain. Like we are holding those two tensions all the time. So it's thrilling to go to the next level. It's thrilling to be like, okay, we can hit the next benchmark. We can expand this, mission. We can hire more people, all that kind of stuff. But then there's also the loss of like, what got you here isn't going to get you there. And I love those people. And what we did together meant something. I have personally been in a season like that this year. My assistant moved on for very good reasons. Somebody that I've worked with in some business partnership that was no longer working. And there's grief in that. But a lot of leaders don't know how to grieve. We suck it up, we soldier on, we power up, we armor up, and we just push through. And there's real consequences to not dealing with the grief. Mainly, you start repeating some of those same mistakes, or you live into what was previously working, but it isn't going to serve you well moving forward. And also, like, there's just a part of you internally that shuts down, and there's just big consequences to that. So that's the first kind of big bucket. But the second is to live with courage, which I think is maybe one of the driving characteristics of leaders in 2025 is courageous leadership. You really do need accountability and support to be courageous because it's scary as hell. It's very vulnerable. The criticism is going to come. The inner conflict is going to come. The tension, the voices that are, fighting you. So you're going to really need somebody that is going to, or somebody's that are going to stand alongside of you and say, stay the course. Stay true to the mission. What is it that you're called to do? If you don't have that, the chances of you going back are very high. So again, I don't know that answered your beautifully loaded question, but those two things really stood out.
No, I think it does. And like courage is one of my favorite words. Courage and curiosity.
Me too, Kara. We're like sisters from another mister. I say those two words all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how to live life without curiosity. Mm-hmm. And I just courage is something that I don't think we realize that we are only using 1, 5, 10% on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And I feel like most of my job some days is just giving people permission. Like we know what we're supposed to do. And there's that whole phrase of like, you get hit with a feather and then you get hit with the brick and then you're going to get hit with the truck. And most people wait to call you and I until they've been hit by the truck.
Yeah.
And there's so much more power if we're willing to start listening to what we know to do sooner. And trust me, having a business called Powerful Ladies, there are plenty of days that I wake up and go, no, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I'm like, who thought that wholeness was a good idea? This sucks. I got to practice what I freaking preach.
Yes. And so like I have that tension on, not consistently, but like on an ongoing basis of, am I living into what I'm preaching?
Yep. And
then also just like really looking at like, what is this courage that we're afraid to step into? There's a podcast episode that came out a couple of episodes ago that had 4 women who are running NGOs, who some of them are being bombed on a regular basis. They're in all like just these women who are just doing the work anyway.
Yeah.
They all scored themselves a 10 out of 10. Meanwhile, we work people every day who are like, I'm a 2. And I don't think it has to be, women in particular are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And part of why we're hard on ourselves is because we think achieving the transformation that we want to be in the world has to be hard.
Mm.
And that drives me crazy because
Mhm.
it's not about not working hard. Like the
Yeah.
sooner everyone accepts that you're going to wake up every day and work hard, things get a
Mhm.
lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be pushing things up a mountain every day.
For sure.
It can be more about dedication, and it can be more about grit, and it can be more about coming back to that courage or
Mhm.
staying in that power that someone like you just gave them. Because
Mhm.
like I just I lose my mind sometimes about like looking at people and the choices they're making and being like, why are you here? Like, why are you choosing like to hang out in level 1 of the video game? Like, why? Like, you're so much more powerful. And
Yeah.
we allow circumstances and
Mm.
stories and just a lot of other people to dictate what game we're going to play. And as frustrated as I am personally this year
Mhm.
with what is happening in the world, what I'm so present to,
Mm.
the golden nugget I think of this year
Mhm.
is the more you lean into your Delulu, the more it's real. And there's most people's Delulu is going to be good for the rest of the world. It's not going
Mm.
to be destructive. And there's, we can have whatever we want.
Mm.
So why are we playing that game?
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Yeah.
make a little recording that people can listen to it at night so they can just
Yeah.
get this into their subconscious. But it's like,
Yeah.
and listen, there are days that I need to hear the same message. Like nothing makes
Absolutely.
me, I feel the dumbest ever when I leave my sessions with my coach and I go, huh, she just told me what I told 10 people this week. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is
Yeah.
why we need coaches. Can't hear it
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just need to get out of ourselves and have somebody else see what it is that we're blinded to. And to invite us into that higher place, that better, fuller potential of who you've been made to be. You talked about just the craziness and the hardness of this year. And one of the things that has been really centering for me is I stole this and adapted it from Sharon McMahon. But I have been just reciting the mantra like nonstop. I will not be distracted from my very important work. And as someone with ADHD who has lots of vision and loads of ambition and goals at the wazoo, distraction can be really big. And then you throw in just social media and all of the things that are all the headlines that are happening. And I could spend and waste entire days in the distraction. So I chose that first part with great intention. I will not be distracted. And then from my very important work is I don't mean it in a grandiose, like, my work is so very important, like, look at me. But it is the work that I'm doing is very important to me. And it is very important to my clients. And it's very important to my family. And I don't want to forget the importance of it. Because when I am distracted by unimportant things, then what is very important to me gets minimized. And so that mantra, that phrase for me has just simply been on repeat. When I start to go off the rails or my eyes start wandering or, I lose track in any sort of way. And again, like I need folks to do that for me and with me. My husband is like, gets an A+ on this all the time. I have a coach, I have mentors, I have a strategist, and those folks help to bring me back to what do I say is important and how do I move forward with that? Because everything else out there is going to take my eyes off of it.
How do you define powerful and ladies, and do their definitions change when they're next to each other?
Oh, that last part I was not expecting. The only reason I think it may change is because we are so much better together. Um, we belong together, we belong to each other. And I think when we are standing next to one another, arms locked in, it's like there is an unstoppability to that. I don't feel that way about myself individually because I just know we need each other. But certainly when we are doing that in community and with like-minded folks that are, running towards the same mission, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. So what does powerful ladies mean to me? I think it is living into the fullness of who you've been made to be and pursuing that with everything that you've got um, through your lifetime. So that's how, yeah, I think that's how I would describe what a powerful woman looks like.
Thank you. There are a lot of people who need this work. And I hate saying need because I do believe people are perfect as they are. It's about removing things. But how would you describe your dream customer? So if they're listening, they know they're there for you.
I agree with you. I do not think that people have problems to be solved. I don't think that people come to me and I'm like, great, let's fix you. You are a wonder to behold and you have potential to be fulfilled. So I think that, the kind of elevator pitch that I use with folks is that I help high capacity leaders expand their influence and their impact holistically. So that's kind of the formal official, but I do think that there's a lot of power in those words for what type of people want to work with me. I also think, there's some distinctives that I have of like the problem that I mainly help solve for folks is overwhelm. And women are really overwhelmed all the time with all the things we talked about earlier, like just the juggling of all of the things and all of the places and keeping our eyes open and making sure that things don't fall through the crack. That's really overwhelming. But the reason why we experience overwhelm is because of this power over dynamic that exists in the world. So there are very real systems and structures and powerful systems that are really designed to keep women playing small in their homes, in their own spaces, and to not grow out of, like the Alice in Wonderland busting out of the house. So I think that there's the folks that come to me, male or female, are recognizing there is just more for me, but I don't want to do it in the ways that it has been done or I've been told to do. So if those two things are unreconcilable, there's got to be a third way. And so I can 100% help you with that because there is a pathway forward. It is holistic. You will expand beyond your wildest capabilities or imagination, and you will be able to expand that influence and that impact in ways that, you can't even imagine up until now. One more thing I got to say is I was in a conversation with a leader that I'm coaching yesterday. We had our last one-to-one coaching call. She's wrapping up her 6-month executive group with me. And she said, I had no idea how much accountability and support would matter to me. She's like, I thought I was doing pretty well. And she was doing great. She had like really gotten herself out of some crisis mode stuff and like out of like straight up survival. And she was like, okay, I think I want some coaching now. But she just was like, I didn't realize how small I was playing and how much more there really was for me because of the accountability and the support that I've had through this group, the other women that are in that group, and then the coaching that I have had. So those couple of things, kind of from a meta level and then a more personal description, I think are folks that we would do really well together.
Well, and I'm curious too, because you've coached Olympians and athletes as well as people in the professional worlds.
Yeah.
How do they show up differently and how do they approach what you're doing differently? Because I have some guesses of, but I'm curious, like what you've seen between like the athlete who shows up to you versus the professional that shows up to you.
Yeah, it's funny coaching the athlete because I am not an athlete. It just goes to show like coaching isn't about having an expertise in a particular field. It's about the developmental science of transformation. So yeah, coaching those folks is really fun because they do know what kind of structure and support and accountability they need, what is really helpful for them to grow. The other thing that athletes do a little bit differently than like corporate folks or leaders in other spaces is they know the value of recovery. They know that they need off seasons, that they need rest days, that they need things like cold plunges and massages in order to help their bodies recover from the intense output and performance that they are doing. And so that has always attracted to me in the sports and athletic realm is there is a rhythm that they practice that folks in other spaces. Summer is my favorite season out of all the four. Fall is my fourth favorite season. So it's a really hard transition for me to go from summer to fall. Um, but my family was in Hawaii last week on vacation, and my husband and I were sitting on the beach together. My teenagers were all like still asleep in the bedroom, in the hotel room. And I looked at my husband and I was like, you know what? I think the older that I get, and I was turning 46 on that trip, the older that I get, the more that I appreciate seasons and the more I know and want to really get the most of every season. That seasons are for different things. So summer is like girls gone wild family style. It's like kids are everywhere. There's like weird structures. There's like little bursts of activity. People are sleeping in until noon. It's chaotic and wild. And we go to the beach on Fridays and, I'm working in weird pockets of time, right? It's wild. But then fall hits and it's like structure, rhythm, everybody's getting back into a groove. Everybody's got new clothes and books and supplies for school. And there's like a really different season to it. So all that to say, I think for leaders in corporate spaces or nonprofit spaces or emerging leaders, that those kinds of leaders also know the rigor of just the ongoing, it's just the grind, really the grind. And so they know what it looks like to really work hard in those spaces, and what they need most and probably can learn from those athletes, or what do, bursts and recovery and rhythms really look like, because you can't run 52 weeks a year the same.
No, and like I'll tell people like it's okay to sprint, but we can't sprint all the time. Like when does the sprint end? Coming from the Northeast, it's weird now living in California because there really aren't seasons.
We don't have
here.
seasons.
And your whole life changes when the seasons change. Where you go to dinner, what hobbies you do, where you meet up with friends, how often,
what kind of food you eat.
Yes. And it's very valuable for me to have gone from that structure to not, because it reinforces, to your point, how much structure we have to build in and the checks and balances, and even something as simple as like, when are we starting this project and when is it ending? Yeah. Otherwise, we have all this hangover stuff and we're like, why are we overwhelmed? And it's like, well, you've been working on this project for like 12 years. might be one reason why. And I think too, like I love your perspective of whether we consider ourselves an athlete or not, we need to be taking care of our bodies to be 100%. The athlete for the thing we're doing. And
100%.
We throw stuff out the window all the time because we don't think it's productive. And it's like a core fundamental. Like 100%. We know we have to drink water. We know we have to go to sleep. How much of that we could argue, but we don't often value the other things. I know that I have loved my schedule when I'm based in Rome, because I'll wake up and I'll leave the house by 8 and I'll do whatever I want. Go to museums, wander around. I'm outside, meet people for coffee or lunch or whatever. I go back and I start working from like 1 to 7, and then we jump out and we go out to dinner. But there's something about having the morning that's mine. Like I choose me first, and I get to fill my cup first. And I've been working with my coach for a while now about how I can build some of that in. And I could just move all my meetings to start at 1 o'clock, but that doesn't feel very effective. But the power of like, how can I claim my morning? Yes. It's like, it seems so silly, but it's like, no, like boundaries are not walls from other people. There's sacred circles around what matters most to us and what we're up to. And I don't think we think about the sacred circle part of what we're creating in life and business enough.
I love that language. Yeah, I mean, we have a 6-part framework that we do with our coaching. And the first part of that framework is physical, because your body is the basis for your whole life. And so, again, we even just hopped on this call and like you're on the struggle bus physically right now, and you were seeing like the ramifications, right? Like just how hard it is to function when your body is like breaking down. And this is another conversation for another day, but I've had a pretty massive health crisis these last couple of years. And the implications on every other part of my life and leadership have been quite literally catastrophic. And there's a recovery happening right now, but I have embodied and experienced firsthand the need to care for our bodies. And again, in a lot of corporate spaces, our bodies are like considered 0% of the time. It's like you come into sick if you're work, or you come into work if you're sick, you power through, you suck it up, you know, you medicate the hell out of yourself in order to just keep moving. Athletes understand that a little bit differently. You know, you are training your body. And when your body is experiencing an injury or an illness, you care for it because your body is the vehicle by which you do everything. And so it is a real kind of feels like bass backwards kind of way in working with folks in corporate to help reorient a value. Like there's a knowledge intellectually that our bodies matter, but there's not an embedded value oftentimes. And so it can be reclaimed actually quite easily because folks, once they get a taste of it, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, wholeness begins in my body. It starts with begins with your breath. It is supported by sleep. It is fueled by food. It's maximized by movement. When I get those things right, and when those are functioning in the ways that they need to, everything else is easier. And then our framework also ends with that renewal piece. And it's how do you rest, recover? What is the energy space that you're looking like? How do you process stress in a way so that you are energized and you're not exhausted and burned out? And what I have found is those two are really strategically, bookmark or bookend our framework. And most leaders, score lowest on our assessments on those two pieces because it's everything else in the middle that we pay attention to. And yet those things are what scaffold us, hold us up, allow us to move forward, provide that framework or that runway. So, again, it's just, it's a holistic approach.
This is a powerful, connected community. What is something on your to-do list, wish list, manifest list that you would like us to hold space for or maybe take an action on for you?
I love that. Well, my dream and vision is that Azer & Co. is an 8-figure company in the next 3 to 5 years. Not because it's just a dream or ambition, but because of those 8 figures actually represent the shift in what leadership looks like in our country and in individual leaders. The domino effect, the ripple effect of that is tremendous. So I believe our mission demands that it's an 8-figure company. So that's fun. But I think that, where there is resonance in what it is that we are doing to help shift the nature and the way that leadership functions, I would love to connect with those folks because I know that I could both serve you really well, add a lot of value, but that it already exists within you and you are a part of that catalytic movement that needs to be just more exhibited and embodied in the spaces that you're leading.
Love that. For everybody who wants to work with you, support you, figure out how to be a part of everything you're creating, where can they find, follow, and support you?
Yeah, well, I'm on all the socials. So you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. But azerandco.com is probably the best place to start. On our homepage, just after that first fold, we've got an assessment that's called the Whole Leader Snapshot. And it is a snapshot of what those 6 parts of holistic leadership really look like for you, how you are doing. You get customized results. It directs you to one of the frameworks that you score the lowest in, that you could use the most amount of support in. And that could kind of instigate a journey and a point of connection of like, I'd really love to learn and explore more. So that would be my recommendation. Go to azerandco.com.
We ask everyone on the podcast where you put yourself on the Powerful Lady scale. If 0 is every average human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you rank yourself today and on an average day?
10 and 10.
With confidence. I like it. You mentioned that you have that Whole Leader Snapshot. I'm such a believer in people taking all the tests.
Yeah,
Enneagrams, human design, strength finders. Yep. Why do you love those and how do they give you insight for who you're working with?
Yeah, I am also a huge fan of assessments. We use assessments in our work in multiple ways. And we've got multiple different assessments within that we've created within our company. But I love them because they help to define reality. You can't remove yourself, like, so they're not completely objective, like you're bringing your biases and your whatever degree of honesty you're going to bring to it. But it provides a starting point and a bit of a reality check to see where are you right now? Where is it that you want to be? And then how do we get you there? So if you're not assessing, if you're not defining reality, I mean, that really is the first task of a leader anyway, right? Is to define reality. And if you have to lead yourself holistically first, it begins with the self-awareness to be able to figure out, what is that way forward. So I'm all about it.
Well, I am so thankful that we got connected.
Me too.
I'm very excited to find a way to connect in real life.
In real life, we're right here, neighbor.
Exactly. But thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for the space you're holding for people and, asking people to be in their greatness. I feel relief with the big to-do list that we all have when there are women like you doing this work and causing the leaders that we need in the world. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the impact you're having on other people. It is such needed work. It is important work. But just, thank you for choosing that mission and being that for other people, because it's not an easy job, but it is very important.
Yeah, it's worth it. Thanks, Kara. It's been so fun to connect with you and be a part of this larger community. It's really beautiful.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com where you can find all the links to connect with April Ezer & Co. and her programs. Come hang out with Powerful Ladies on Instagram at Powerful Ladies, and you can find me and all my socials at karaduffy.com. This episode is produced by Amanda Cass, and our audio engineer is Jordan Duffy. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.